by them.
Okay, let's play some damn
everything
shit.
else we know about the
Slap that
world
slut from
in which he
China.
lived. And as I argue in the book, the nice thing is we know a lot about the world in which Jesus lived. Why? Because it was a world that was occupied and dominated by the Roman Empire. And whatever you want to say about Rome, they were very good at keeping records. Right? We know how much a bushel of wheat cost in Rome. We know, like, you know, how many mud bricks it took to make, you know, a wall. Like, they were very good at keeping records. And so it's a standard process. I'm not inventing anything new. It's what we do. We take what little we know about the figure, we put him in his time and place, and then we let what we know about his time and place fill in the holes of who he was. And then yes, then we can rely on these other things, even religious documents like the Gospels, to kind of help us understand, to kind of, you know, give shape to this historical figure. And so long story short,
damn it, I didn't want to
when you do that
shit.
With
I wanted to
Jesus
take that fucking poem.
The character that shows up,
my God damn,
very different than either the character that you see in the Gospels, certainly in the later Gospels, and certainly the character that most people would recognize today as Jesus the Christ.
Jesus.
That was a long...
No, I'm glad you did this because my question did get to the heart of, like, how did this survive? And I kind of have a hunch about cognitive dissonance and also the other...
That's the end of the story,
Yeah, and I think that the other part of this is this movement, and I don't know how common this would have been with other Messianics, and I just say Messianics for all the other movements. How many of them started shifting their goal on marketing to Gentiles, right? So I think the reason this movement even survived is only because it now targeted the broader Greco-Roman world. Because maybe there would have been some, like, after the raising of Jerusalem and, like, maybe there would have been, like, a small Jewish movement that continued, but I just don't think this thing, like the rest of the Messianic movements, would have continued apart from that new exploration of the broader world had it not been done by Paul and others who were on that kind of adventure. So, if you would like to comment on that, and then I have some interesting...
No, it's 100% correct, and you know, we need to talk a little bit more about how we got there, but you're absolutely right.
Oh my God, I fucked up.
Well, let's start here.
Jesus,
so
goddamn Holy Ghost,
you were right
fucking,
that there were
holy goddamn fucking Christ
figures in the first century, both before Jesus' movement and after Jesus' movement.
Man, this is so niggerish.
Like that movement, messianic. What does that mean? It means that they were led by a figure who either himself claimed to be the Messiah,
suck my motherfucking dick,
claimed was the Messiah.
Right.
Okay. Let's pause for a minute and what does that even mean? What does it mean to, like, raise your hand in the first century and say you're the Messiah?
Now fuck up and over this second donkey cone the fuck out of
what Christians have, turned it into at all.
Dick. Right.
In the first century,
suck my motherfucking
if a Jew
dick,
said he's the Messiah,
dick,
he means one thing and one thing only. He means, according to the Hebrew scriptures, the only scriptures that existed.
You suck my goddamn dick, bitch.
He means
you suck my goddamn dick, bitch. You suck my
descendant of King
dick,
David,
bitch. You suck my goddamn dick.
Function,
you suck my
job
goddamn dick, bitch.
To
you suck
reestablish
my
David's
dick, bitch.
kingdom.
You suck my goddamn dick, bitch. You suck my goddamn dick.
The end.
You suck my goddamn dick, bitch.
If you call yourself Messiah in the first century, that's what you mean.
Bitch. You suck my
or
goddamn
let me put it in a
dick.
different way. That's what everyone hears.
Goddamn dick, bitch.
Like, you may have your own idea of what that means, and I think there is some evidence that, if Jesus indeed called himself Messiah, then that's, it's hard to know whether he did, actually. He doesn't in the first gospel, not in the Gospel of Mark, not really.
You suck my goddamn
on the contrary, in the first Gospel of Mark, every time anyone else calls him Messiah, he tells him to shut up.
Bitch, you suck my
even the
fucking
question
dick.
at the trial, which that's the trial
Suck my
itself is a
motherfucking
question.
dick.
Who was there, right? How do you know? But anyway, so there's all sorts of critical questions. But even that question, are you the Messiah? And he goes,
You suck my
you will see the Son of Man.
bitch.
Well, the Son of Man is Daniel, but like
Not the Messiah.
he doesn't say, yes, I'm the Messiah. Right.
Suck my motherfucking dick.
And so there's a lot there, and we can obviously talk about
You suck my goddamn
whether
dick,
he himself
bitch.
actually
You suck
thought
my
of himself as the
goddamn dick,
Messiah,
bitch.
or if
You
he
suck
did what
my
he
goddamn
meant.
dick,
Maybe he
bitch.
meant something
You suck
different.
my
That's not what we're
goddamn
talking about. What we're
dick.
saying is that
You suck my
if you say, "Hi everyone,
bitch.
I'm the
You
Messiah,"
suck my
every
goddamn
Jew
dick, bitch. You suck my
within
goddamn
hearing
dick, bitch.
distance hears,
Bitch, you
I am
suck
the
my
descendant of King
motherfucking
David.
dick.
I am here to reestablish the kingdom of David on earth.
God
Now,
damn
Political
it.
thing. Clearly.
It's 100% a political. Now again, understand, if you're saying that you're here to establish the kingdom of David on earth, what you are also saying is that you are here to
fucking
remove
Christ.
Rome from the Holy Land, because you can't establish the kingdom of David without removing the kingdom of Caesar. So it's for that reason that to a person, right, everyone who said, "I am the Messiah," was killed by Rome. Every one of them, because that's an act of
fucking
rebellion.
damn it.
Right? That's treason against the state. That is calling for a different kingdom than the one that actually exists. The question then becomes, if you call yourself the Messiah, and everyone understands what that
Jesus
means,
fucking Christ.
and then you die without actually establishing the kingdom of David. You die without doing the one thing that the Messiah is
Jesus
supposed to
fucking
do.
Christ.
You're not the Messiah. Right? So to your question of
like the life
yeah, that's it. So to your question of what about all these other Messiahs? They all died and then their movements went nowhere. Well, yeah, because if you're a dead Messiah, you're not the Messiah.
Fucking Christ.
It's as simple as that.
Jesus goddamn cunt fucking Christ in the fucking butt fucking
I want
nut.
your opinion.
This one movement.
Yeah.
Jesus
What do you
fucking
think?
Christ.
I think it's twofold. And you said it both, right? One of them is this very
Jesus fucking
complicated
Christ.
notion of
Jesus
cognitive
fucking
dissonance,
Christ.
right? Which I'm sure most of your listeners know. It's fundamentally when you have a certain belief and facts contradict that belief, rather than changing your belief or denying your belief. What cognitive dissonance does is it gets you to double down on the belief instead.
You suck my goddamn
And
dick, bitch.
to then
God damn it.
transform
God
the
damn it.
fact
Fucked up. I fucked up.
so that it
I
fits
fucked
the
up.
belief instead of change the belief or deny the belief because it's contradicted by that.
Jesus goddamn fucking Christ.
Very
Fucking
likely,
cunt Christ.
what happened was after Jesus' death
Jesus
is that his
fucking goddamn
followers had
fucking cunt.
a
Goddamn
pretty
Holy
simple decision to make. The
Jesus
same
fucking
decision
Christ.
that the followers of every would-be Messiah had to make.
Jesus
Either,
fucking
oops,
Christ.
that wasn't the Messiah because he's dead,
Move you cunt.
or maybe Messiah means something else
Jesus fucking
than what we
Christ.
think it means.
Jesus goddamn
Maybe
fucking Christ.
The kingdom that he's talking about is not an
fucking
earthly
Christ.
kingdom. Maybe it's a heavenly kingdom. Maybe the end that he was
fucking
promising is a future end. Maybe, see, you just start to rethink and redefine,
Jesus goddamn
right, as a
fucking
survival
Christ.
mechanism, right? We all gave our lives to this thing. Now the thing is over, and now we need to make sense of it.
Christ.
So we can either give it up or double down. And they double down. So I think that's the first
Jesus
aspect of it.
fucking Christ.
And then the second aspect of it is the quite complicated one that you've also brought up, which is that
Jesus goddamn motherfucker.
unlike those
Christ.
other
Jesus
messianic
goddamn
movements,
fucking
which were
Christ.
Jewish movements for Jews, promising a Jewish future, right? Something happens in the post-Jesus movement, which is that it starts to transform from a Jewish movement into a Gentile movement. And not just Gentile, but a Greco-Roman movement. And it happens because
you are not going to dick up my motherfucking king, you son of a bitch.
Frankly, spiritual
now
genius
fuck up and mean this
of
poem
this
on here
figure that you mentioned, Paul, Saul of Tarsus, Paul the Apostle,
dick.
You know, the person that we understand today to be the person who is most responsible for creating what we now call Christianity. And who was Paul? I mean, we got to take his word for it. We're not sure, but according to himself,
you stupid
he was,
motherfucker,
a Jew,
stupid.
in Jewish
Take a
law,
ride on the stupid
machine.
machine.
Who, when he first heard of the Jesus movement, thought it was absurd and ridiculous. Never met Jesus, never talked to Jesus, had no connection to Jesus whatsoever, and then has this spiritual experience where, you know, according to him, he is confronted with the risen Jesus. He never ever talks about the earthly Jesus. He has no interest.
Man, this is bullshit right here.
Jesus. This is something that might be interesting to some of your
they don't get
Paul who are familiar with Christianity or who grew up in the Christianity.
Their lives, and you can go to church and say the prayers and whatever. It doesn't really matter. And this is when I met Kip Davis. Kip is a really good friend of mine, and so we met through because of the project he was working in Norway on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and my supervisor Liv Lead put us in touch and made us get to know each other. And so Kip, we got to be good friends, and he came along to an Easter vacation with me and my family out at my in-laws' island. They have a little island off the coast of Bergen, Norway, in the fjords.
Come on, you fucking
like where there's no boat. There's no bridge. You have to take a little boat to get out there. And so he came out for Easter.
Come on,
we trudged around, and we. I don't know if I should say all the things.
Come on, slut.
We drank beer.
Come on, you slut.
From reindeer horns and vomited. It was horrible.
That's awesome.
And we went fishing, crabbing. We had a great time. And
come on, you slut, that slut from China.
We had a good time.
Move, slut.
But we. One of the things that we did when we were talking, we talked about obviously about our background in Christianity and stuff like that. And I remember we're out on lots of whiskey. We're out on a fishing boat. We were out fishing, and Kip says to me, but do you still believe in the resurrection? Like knowing everything that you know about everything else.
Man, look at this.
Do you still believe in it? I was like, yeah, I think that's all I have. Like, I can't let go of that. And he didn't. He didn't blame me. He didn't try and convince me of anything. But like he asked me that question, like, what defense do you have left for that when you kind of have given up everything else? And it was more of a conversation, I think, than I didn't feel like it was any accusation or anything. But and then I had this weird experience where one of my friends was studying at my university, getting her kind of advanced learning degree, because teachers come back here to get like certified in religion and stuff. And so she was doing a degree, and she had to take a class in Christian dogmatics. So she came over because she wanted help with studying, right? So she comes over and she asks, and she's like, so the teacher says that Christians believe this. I'm like, oh God, no, nobody believes that. I don't believe that. She's like, so God, do you believe this? I'm like, no, I don't believe that. And she's like, do you believe this? I'm like, no. And we went through the whole thing, and I didn't believe anything that she had learned in class that Christians believe. And of course that says something about the class too, but it was like I was realizing, oh my gosh, like academically I don't
move, you slut, that slut.
But I'm still committed. It doesn't matter. Like the one thing you can't give up on is God. But then in 2017, like my wife, let's put it this way, the trauma caught up with my wife. She'd been working as a pastor and just pushing through, and then like she had a couple of really rough experiences that really pushed her to rethink things. And a psychologist said, you probably have PTSD. And she started reading and thinking about, but what happened really? What was it like? She read her journals and went through all this stuff, and then it was like, she was re-traumatized really by that, and was just like went full on PTSD, and it was diagnosed, and she couldn't work as a minister anymore. And we started like really quickly talking about, but what do we do? And we realized very quickly, or she realized very quickly, that she couldn't believe in that God and that Jesus, that religion in that way anymore. And when she said that to me, it was such a relief.
Wow.
And I was like, dude,
would you please move, you slut?
And then I didn't have to support or be the Christian husband of the pastor or whatever. Like, it was like, oh God, like I can let go. And so like the past 4 years have really been trying to figure out how to reorient myself, because I have a PhD in the Dead Sea Scrolls of the Book of Jubilees. Like, I've gone as far as you can go in the Bible and stuff, and it's and then I'm an atheist, and like, what do I do? And so like, first I was like, I'll go back to school. I'll learn genetics. I had a friend who was a biologist that works with fish, and I was like, dude, he's probably things better. Or I could go learn cancer. I can cure cancer. I can learn physics and do something big. Like, do something important. But then I realized, like, I don't have the energy for that. I'm not gonna go back to school now. Like, I'm there. I have all this knowledge, but it's been a battle, like, within myself, to figure out how I want to live post Christianity.
Deep breath, right? I mean, there's a lot there to unravel, to dive into, and you are the one who knows. You're listening to yourself now. You're not listening to this guy tell you need to go and be a missionary. You're not listening to this person tell you this. And you're listening to your family's voice now. And this is something interesting. I didn't listen to my wife. Over a decade, she tried to tell me men wrote it. Now look, my wife does not have any of the educational stuff. She's just a real down-to-earth person. And she said, men wrote it. I don't trust it. She just had an intuition about not trusting men. She's had bad experiences growing up. And I'm like, no. But the Bible says here in 2 Timothy 3 that this is inspired. I think it's anyway, it's like inspired by God, the Holy Spirit. And these men wrote. And like, she's like, I don't care what the book that men wrote say about their books. Like, men wrote it. And I tried to debate her for over a decade. Traumatizing her, forcing her, going, you can't be, I don't see how you're a Christian. I don't get it. Well, finally one day, it was like, eureka. I went like, oh my gosh, men wrote this book. And then I told her that. We were on our way to the beach. She almost slapped me. She's like, are you serious? You owe me that. Like, you were right, but I can prove it.
But like, that's the weird thing. So like, I learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about myself reflecting on this. I mean, obviously, I've gone to therapy for the past few years, and I'm doing what I can to find ways of regaining confidence and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I've really learned about myself is that, like, just that connection between like my head and my emotions or whatever is not naturally that strong. And so like, I was really good at just keeping that segmented. Like, I knew that the Bible was written based on interpreting older things. Like, the whole point of my YouTube thing is literally talking about these things that I thought were super interesting. I love it, but I did not let that affect my faith, and that was a goal for me. Was just I will not let it affect my faith, and it was only when like the relationship with my wife was then like that was the priority. There was that thing like what do you do? Then it's just like straight, like you said, straight through the bullshit. And it's like when because she's much more honest than me. She's like, I mean, she tells it how it is, and she's always like she was also much quicker to tell people about that she had kind of
come on slut,
and I'm like,
come on
what
slut,
people are gonna think, and I don't know, and work, are people gonna not like me, and she's just kind of cut straight through it, and so what I've learned is that I was already there academically. So like when my wife says, what do we do about the whole hell thing? I'm like, oh, well, I know why there's no hell, because like this came up and this was originally, and there's no immortal soul in the Old Testament and blah, 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 blah. And like, it's just like, it was no problem to give the arguments and to know that I believed them. But it was that last bit of saying, and I'm not.
God damn it.
So let's pick a little bit in here for a minute, and the details you mentioned. I do want to let everybody know who's watching right now. I just showed your YouTube channel. At the end of this, we're going to refresh and see how many subscribers Dr. Munger has gotten from this live stream, so you can play a part. He's also going to launch his first video at the end of this live stream, so I hope that everybody stays tuned and we'll go check it out. Hit the bell once you subscribe. So the last thing was pretty much what Dr. Kip said with you guys. Someone was like, but do you believe the resurrection is true? I mean, Jonah's mythology.
I do.
The megachurch era is ending. In the spring of 2023, one of America's largest and most influential megachurches, Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas, saw something that would have been unthinkable just a decade earlier. Empty seats. Not just a few, rows of them. Where once 10,000 congregants filled every inch of the sanctuary every weekend, where overflow crowds waited in parking lots to watch services on screens, where the pastor's words were considered gospel truth by millions of followers across television networks and social media platforms, now there was silence, absence, the slow, undeniable sound of an era beginning to crack. This is the story of how America's megachurch movement, one of the most powerful religious, cultural, and financial phenomena of the last 50 years, is quietly, then not so quietly, coming to an end. And more importantly, it's the story of why this happened, what went wrong, and what it means for the millions of people who built their faith around these massive institutions and the charismatic leaders who presided over them. If you're watching this right now, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching from? What's your background with church? Did you grow up in a megachurch, or did you watch them from the outside? Maybe you've noticed changes in the churches around you, whatever your perspective. This story is relevant to you because the megachurch era fundamentally shaped American religion, politics, and culture in ways that most people don't fully understand. Stick with us as we uncover the untold story. Before we go deeper, I should mention that Professor Archive is dedicated to bringing you the most thoroughly researched documentaries on education, faith, history, and human nature. If you value deep analysis and fact-based storytelling, subscribe now so you don't miss our next release. And if this topic resonates with you, consider supporting us through Super Thanks. It helps us continue this work. The megachurch phenomenon didn't emerge from nowhere. To understand its ending, we need to understand its extraordinary beginning. The seeds were planted in the 1950s and 1960s, but they really took root in the 1980s, a time when American evangelical Christianity was experiencing what some historians call a Great Awakening. Television was becoming the dominant medium, and a new breed of pastor understood something that traditional church leaders didn't. The medium was the message. Figures like Robert Schuller with the Crystal Cathedral in California, Oral Roberts with his massive ministry in Oklahoma, and later James Robison and others recognized that you didn't need to build a church around geography anymore. You could build it around personality, around a vision, around one man's interpretation of Scripture and the American dream combined. Joel Osteen didn't invent the megachurch model, but he perfected it.
Oral blowjob.
When he took over Lakewood Church from his father, John Osteen, in 1999, the church was already large, with about 5,000 members. Within 2 decades, Osteen transformed it into the largest church in America by attendance, regularly drawing 43,000 people per weekend across multiple services. His message was simple, consistent, and uniquely American. God wants you to prosper. God wants you to be successful. God wants you to be wealthy and healthy. It was a theology called the prosperity gospel, and it resonated with millions. What made the megachurch era distinct wasn't just the size of the congregations. It was the infrastructure. These weren't simple gathering spaces, they were corporations. Lakewood Church operates with a budget that rivals many small colleges. Hillsong Church in New York generated global merchandise operations, music labels, and international expansion strategies. These institutions required extensive staff, professional lighting and sound systems, marketing departments, and something else crucial: protection. Legal protection, financial protection, institutional protection. The megachurch model also fundamentally changed the relationship between pastor and congregation. In a traditional church of 300 people, the pastor knows his flock. He visits the sick. He counsels the troubled. He's accountable to his community in visible, immediate ways. In a megachurch of 40,000, the relationship becomes almost parasocial. Congregants feel they know the pastor through screens, through recordings, through his public persona. But he doesn't know them, and this imbalance would eventually become one of the movement's critical vulnerabilities. By the 2000s and 2010s, megachurches had become cultural forces. They weren't just religious spaces, they were entertainment venues, political organizing centers, and spiritual supermarkets where people could pick and choose their beliefs. They partnered with secular corporations. They influenced elections.
God damn it.
Several megachurch pastors became household names with political influence that rivaled some senators and governors. But underneath this gleaming exterior, cracks were already forming. And some of them were structural, built into the very foundations of the megachurch model itself. Let me ask you, have you noticed changes in large churches or religious institutions around you? Perhaps you've seen attendance decline, or maybe you've witnessed scandals that shook the faith of people you know. Share your observations in the comments. This is a collective story and your experience matters. The first major crack came through a series of financial scandals. In 2017, Houston pastor Kirby John Caldwell, who had written books on prosperity theology and attracted thousands to his congregation, was convicted of money laundering and fraud. He had deceived investors by selling them counterfeit bonds. This wasn't an isolated incident. Between 2010 and 2020, several megachurch pastors faced serious criminal charges related to financial misconduct. Some were charged with tax evasion, others were accused of misappropriating church funds for personal luxury, mansions, private jets, expensive vehicles. The problem was structural. Megachurches operate with almost no financial transparency. The Internal Revenue Service grants tax-exempt status to religious organizations with minimal oversight compared to other nonprofits. A pastor at a megachurch could potentially funnel massive amounts of congregational money into personal accounts, and legally there was very little accountability. The congregation trusted the pastor, the board was often hand-selected by the pastor, and the money kept flowing in because the prosperity gospel taught that giving to the church would result in personal financial blessing. One specific case illustrates this perfectly. In 2019, the IRS launched a major audit of Trinity Church in New York City, one of the oldest and wealthiest churches in America. Not primarily because of financial impropriety, but because of the sheer opacity of its operations. The church held a meeting to address the audit, and congregants for the first time in generations began asking difficult questions about where money actually went. It was a rare moment of transparency, and it alarmed many. What made these financial issues particularly damaging was that they occurred in an era of increasing digital surveillance and documentation. In previous decades, a megachurch pastor's finances could remain secret. But in the age of the internet, Instagram, and investigative journalism, secrets became much harder to keep. Information spread rapidly. Congregants could compare the messaging of prosperity theology, work hard, tithe, and God will bless you financially, with the visible reality, Their own financial struggles persisted while their pastors accumulated wealth at exponential rates. But the financial scandals, while damaging, were merely the warning tremors before the larger earthquake. The real structural failure came from something much deeper: abuse of authority. And it didn't start in 2015 or 2010. The seeds of this crisis had been planted decades earlier. In 2018, a bombshell report documented decades of sexual abuse by ministers at Sovereign Grace Churches, an international church network. The investigation revealed a pattern. Pastors with inappropriate sexual behavior weren't reported to authorities. Instead, they were quietly transferred to other congregations, a practice that seemed eerily familiar to anyone who knew about similar patterns in the Catholic Church. The pastoral authority structures in megachurches made victims reluctant to come forward. If you're a young person in a congregation of tens of thousands and the pastor, a person positioned as God's representative on earth, has abused you, who do you tell? The church leadership protects their own. This pattern repeated across different megachurch networks. In 2022, investigations found that the leadership of multiple churches associated with Ravi Zacharias, a hugely influential evangelical apologist who had written books, spoken to millions, and been celebrated as one of Christianity's great minds, had enabled and covered up his sexual misconduct with massage therapists and vulnerable women who came to him seeking spiritual guidance. After his death, the full scope of his abuse became public, and it shattered the faith of thousands who had revered him. The megachurch era had built its authority on a specific model: put a charismatic man at the top, surround him with an organizational infrastructure that protects him, instill in the congregation the idea that questioning his authority is equivalent to questioning God, and then maintain tight control over information and accountability mechanisms. This model worked perfectly fine in the pre-internet era when information control was easier, but it became a pressure cooker in the age of social media. Here's something crucial to understand. The megachurch era didn't fail because of individual bad actors. Yes, there were corrupt pastors and abusive leaders, but the real problem was systemic. The very structure of megachurches, the concentration of authority in a single charismatic figure, the minimal accountability mechanisms, the financial opacity, the doctrine of unconditional submission to pastoral authority, created an environment where abuse could flourish. And then in 2020, something unexpected happened. A global pandemic shut down churches. For the first time in decades, the in-person gathering that was central to the megachurch experience became impossible. Services moved online, and something remarkable occurred. Many people didn't come back. The attendance numbers tell the story. Pew Research Center data shows that in 2020, about 65% of American adults identified as Christian. By 2023, that number had dropped to 63%. But more significantly, within that declining group, the decline in megachurches was sharper. When churches reopened after lockdowns, many congregants didn't return. Some had discovered that they could access spiritual content from anywhere, from anyone, without showing up to a physical building. Others had experienced separation from the megachurch bubble and realized they could think more independently. The psychological research on this is fascinating. During the pandemic, people spent more time online, exposed to more diverse perspectives and less time in echo chambers. They had time to think, to question, to examine the theology they'd been taught. Many found themselves troubled by questions they'd previously suppressed. Why was I taught that the pastor's interpretation of Scripture was infallible? Why did the prosperity gospel never address the fact that my family remained poor despite our faithful giving? Why did we never openly discuss the abuse and cover-ups happening in our denomination? What's your experience been with this? If you've attended a megachurch or a large church, did you notice changes in your community, especially after 2020? Have you observed people asking more critical questions? Let us know in the comments. The pandemic also exposed another critical weakness: digital replacement. When churches went online, megachurches discovered something counterintuitive. They thought their strength was the massive facility, the elaborate production, the sense of being part of something enormous. But actually, many congregants found that they preferred smaller, more intimate spiritual communities. They found podcasts, online sermon series from various pastors, and small group Bible studies more meaningful than sitting in an auditorium with 40,000 other people watching a distant preacher on a screen. This created a strange irony. The megachurches that had invested hundreds of millions of dollars into state-of-the-art facilities found that those facilities were their weakness, not their strength, in an era where you could access spiritual content from anywhere. Meanwhile, small churches and non-denominational groups that pivoted quickly to online engagement actually maintained or grew their numbers during lockdown. Additionally, the pandemic coincided with growing visibility of megachurch political involvement. Throughout the 2010s, megachurch pastors had quietly become kingmakers in American politics. They organized voters, influenced elections, and many became closely associated with specific political candidates and parties. But during the pandemic, this became impossible to ignore. When churches refused to follow public health guidelines and held in-person services against health department recommendations, they were making a political statement, not just a theological one. This politicization, which many trace back to the 1980s and the rise of the religious right as a political force, had gradually eroded the spiritual message of many megachurches. People began to notice that the prosperity gospel and the political messaging were often intertwined, that the theology being preached served specific political and economic interests. By 2021 and 2022, another crisis emerged that would accelerate the decline: the Christian nationalism reckoning. After the January 6th Capitol riot in 2021, American society finally forced itself to look at something many megachurch insiders had been uncomfortable about for years: the merger of Christian theology with American nationalism. Several megachurch leaders had been visibly supporting candidates and movements that many fellow Christians found troubling. For the first time, large numbers of evangelicals, the core constituency of megachurches, began publicly questioning whether their spiritual homes had been captured by political interests. Some left their megachurches entirely. Others stayed but disengaged. Giving declined. Attendance became sporadic. The sense of unified purpose that had energized the movement began to fracture. A significant moment occurred in 2022 when Christianity Today, one of the most influential evangelical publications, published a cover story examining the evangelical crisis. The article documented declining attendance, financial troubles, and a crisis of confidence in evangelical leadership. What was remarkable wasn't that these problems existed. Many insiders knew about them. What was remarkable was that they were now being discussed openly in major Christian publications. The financial troubles that emerged in the post-pandemic years revealed just how dependent megachurches had become on consistent, large attendance. These institutions had been built with the assumption that growth would continue indefinitely. They had taken on massive debt to expand facilities, fund staffing, and invest in technology. When attendance declined even modestly, financial models broke down. Suddenly, churches that had seemed financially omnipotent were facing genuine budget crises. This created a vicious cycle. As financial troubles became public, confidence declined further. As confidence declined, giving decreased. As giving decreased, churches had to cut programs, which caused more people to leave. By 2023, several major megachurches had announced significant staff reductions, canceled expansion projects, and in a few cases had to sell facilities or consolidate operations. Lakewood Church, which we mentioned at the beginning, provides the most visible example of this decline. In 2023, after occupying the Compaq Center, a former NBA arena, for over 20 years, the church announced that it would downsize its facilities and consolidate services. This move was presented as a strategic repositioning, but everyone understood it represented an acknowledgement. The megachurch model had become unsustainable. Now, let me say this clearly. The end of the megachurch era doesn't mean the end of Christianity in America, but it does mean the end of a specific model that dominated American religion for roughly 40 years. And that transformation has profound implications, not just for religion, but for how power, authority, and community operate in American society. The decline of megachurches is occurring alongside a larger religious shift. According to Gallup and Pew Research data, the percentage of Americans who identify as Christian has declined from about 86% in 1990 to 63% in 2023. But importantly, there hasn't been a corresponding rise in a single alternative faith. Rather, Americans are fragmenting, some toward non-denominational spirituality, some toward atheism and agnosticism, some toward small intentional communities, and some toward ancient Christian traditions like Orthodox Christianity, or traditional Catholicism that functioned very differently from evangelical megachurches. This fragmentation is actually deeply threatening to the megachurch model because it was predicated on a specific American religious ecosystem. It assumed that young people would seek out the largest, most entertainment-focused church. It assumed that the prosperity gospel would remain convincing. It assumed that authority could flow unquestioned from pastor to congregation. It assumed that a massive organization could sustain both spiritual authenticity and corporate efficiency. Most of these assumptions turned out to be false. One particularly interesting development is the renewed interest in liturgical Christianity among younger evangelicals. Young adults who grew up in megachurches and found them spiritually unfulfilling have migrated toward Catholic, Orthodox, and Anglican traditions that emphasize ancient liturgies, historical continuity, and communal rather than individualistic spirituality. This represents a kind of rebellion against the megachurch model, a recognition that the emotionalism, the personalism, and the consumer approach to spirituality felt ultimately empty. Another key factor in the megachurch decline involves transparency and accountability. The internet enabled the rise of megachurch pastors, and it's also enabling their fall. Websites dedicated to documenting abuse, financial impropriety, and theological problems at specific churches have proliferated. Young people can now easily research the history of a church leader before committing. Stories that would have remained local rumors 50 years ago become international news within hours. This transparency is fundamentally incompatible with the authority structures that megachurches require to function. There's also a generational element. The megachurch era was largely built on baby boomers and Gen X. These generations grew up with respect for institutions and authority figures, but millennials and Gen Z grew up in a very different cultural context. They witnessed institutional...
I do.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is great to have as my guest today Dr. Troy Stober. I have not been on for a couple of weeks. I have been off gallivanting around the country. First I went to NanoCon, and then after that I went to Yosemite with my daughter, and then last week I did some traveling for my work as a Kaja, and this is the first time that I am back now after 3 weeks. So thank you all for bearing with me and for coming back. And Troy, it is great to have you with me.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. How are you doing, Troy?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's been an absolutely beautiful summer out here in Portland, Oregon. Just every day is like the French Riviera. The summers out here are beautiful. And I will say this, in the winter it gets a little rainy around here, but you get amnesia. Like after a beautiful summer, it's kind of a trade-off, kind of worth it.
I can see that. I can see that. You know, you get into the beautiful weather. Yeah, you kind of forget what. How long does the rainy part last?
Well, it's not like Midwest rain where like you get like thunderstorms and then it's over. It's just kind of like a kind of an ongoing mist. And I'd say 5 days out of 7 it rains. A lot of the time, kind of cloudy. But yeah, it goes basically from about November pretty much through March, April, and then after that you get more and more nice days that you can go outside and. The rain doesn't bother everybody. It doesn't stop everybody. You have to be motivated.
My son loves walking in the rain. And so we'll go outside. We'll look outside and see that it's raining, and my husband and I will be, we're not going out. It's raining. And my son will, it's raining? Okay, I'm going for a walk.
Yeah. Well, and this is the kind of rain you can walk in. It's just kind of light, misty. You put a raincoat on, you're fine. It's not like I grew up in the Midwest, and like I remember thunderstorms as a kid, and oh my word, I mean that's just violent, and you're like, that's a different kind of rain altogether.
You know, my son has a friend in Germany, and their theory is that there's no such thing as inclement weather. If you're having a problem with the weather, you're just not dressed correctly. And I said, okay, what's the correct dress for a tornado? And my son says, they don't get tornadoes. They've never had to worry about that one.
That's a hoot, of course. Yeah, I mean, around here, if you wait 5 minutes, it'll probably change, so you don't really have anything to worry about.
I do.
Yeah, I mentioned before the show that I've lived in a lot of places, and everywhere I go, I hear that. You know, if you don't like the weather in Texas, just wait 5 minutes, it'll change. If you don't like the weather in Kentucky, just wait 5 minutes, it'll change. Okay, I am told that I am booming compared to your sound levels. I am going to work on that. Why don't you talk to the audience a little bit, tell them a little bit about yourself, and I'll work on the audio levels.
Terrific. Well, my name is Dr. Troy Stober, and I'm an atheist advocate, an activist, a child advocate, a content creator, and I run a channel called The Deepest Hell. And that's because I'm also a budding author. I'm working on a masterpiece called The Deepest Hell. And that book is actually a response book to a book that already exists called The Deepest Well by another pediatrician. Her name is Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. And she did a fine job in her own right. So my book really isn't necessarily a response. I kind of pick up where she left off and kind of continue at that point. But it has to do with childhood trauma. And one of the differences between me and Dr. Burke-Harris is that I don't excuse childhood religious trauma. I like to call out the harm that religion can do to kids. And it doesn't do it to every kid, and it doesn't harm every kid in the same way. But as Godless Granny can probably attest to, there really is no evidence that there is any deity to begin with, positively identified. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. If you're going to harm kids, at least have some kind of rational basis for the harm. It shouldn't be something that's just an imaginary monster. Well, it's an imaginary monster for sure. On my channel, I say that kids are not just little adults, but adults are just grown-up kids. And it teaches you that kids experience the world in a different way, and they experience trauma. And when you tell them things, they take it very literally, very concretely. They don't take allegory, they don't take parables that well. Eventually, they do, but as you probably realize, what I would call childhood indoctrination is when you kind of give one free pass, one kind of lifelong special pleading that just kind of gets in the back door, and it's always there, and then you always have that excuse. But then you get adults who are traumatized, and what the research shows, the research that Dr. Burke-Harris likes to try to provide publicity to or awareness of, is that adverse childhood events that cause trauma lead to adverse health outcomes as an adult. So downstream, this is like a well done, right? But it's pretty clear now that the more childhood trauma you have, the worse your health outcome is as an adult. And like I said, the difference is I don't give religion a free pass to harm kids. So.
Okay, very good. All right, the first thing I was noting as you were talking, you were saying kids are not little adults, but adults are grown-up kids. And I was thinking, how quickly we forget. You mentioned that Kids are harmed by things that adults say, and I know I said things that I had no idea how they would affect a child, because they don't affect a child the same way they do an adult. How quickly we forget.
Yeah. I think that religion was made by adults. And in other words, like some wandering sheep herders and fishermen in the ancient Near East started a tradition based on legend and so forth, but they never really had child development in mind. And so they made a big deal for some arbitrary reason about sex. They made a big deal for some arbitrary reason about slavery. I guess that was really important to them at the time. But these days we have actual kids in today's day and age that have to deal with that, and religion is not developmentally appropriate for kids.
Okay, before we go on, I want to ask the audience, is the sound level better balanced now? I did make a couple of adjustments and see if that's balanced better. Nitty says yo. I'm not sure if he's saying yo because he just entered or because he's noticing the sound is better. But I also wanted to mention this comment from Purple Rhymes with Orange. I'm not sure if you know what that meant. Kalasia posted your the link to your channel in the chat, which Kalasia pulled from the description, and Purple Rhymes with Orange is now subscribed to your channel.
Hey, great, thank you so much. That's exciting. Yeah. No, my book, I've been working hard on that, and let me tell you. Okay, so Godless Creative, I have a confession. I am terrible at technology. In fact, the mere fact that I'm here and I have some headphones on and I have something that resembles like a content creator, that might be reason to have faith right there. That might be a reason to believe, because I'm terrible with technology. And I've been working on this book for like a year and a half, and I started using AI, and oh my word, the process is moving along orders of magnitude quicker, more efficiently, and so I'm really grateful. I got a book coach, and it looks like maybe by the end of the year I'll be done with The Deepest Hell, the book. So until then, you just get to watch me on videos and get an idea of the flavor of the type of content I produce. But it's definitely atheist, it's definitely anti-theist, it's definitely atheist activist, and it's definitely child advocacy, because I remember, can I tell you a quick story, Granny?
Of course, go right ahead.
So I'm a pediatrician. I didn't get into my total story yet exactly, but I grew up and went to college and medical school in the Midwest, and then I did pediatric residency. So I'm actually a practicing pediatrician. And there was a day, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, that I was calling in to CPS, Child Protective Services, a case where I was concerned about a child. I was thinking that there might be abuse. And as I was explaining the situation, I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was. I couldn't identify. I knew it was abusive, and I knew it was harmful to children. And the operator finally said, "Hey, is this threat of harm?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Yes, it's threat of harm." Okay, yes, duh, right, hello, that's one of the definitions of child abuse, threat of harm. And so, it dawned on me that, when you use hell as a motivating factor, when you tell a child, they're going to, I can't even say it, I get emotional, this triggers me. They say research is research, Granny, and so this all happened to me. I was traumatized as a kid by religion. But I guess the bottom line is I don't see how you can excuse harming kids in that particular way. And it motivates me. It is the passion behind what I do. And I do believe that it's a valid form of child advocacy, and I do believe that it's a definition of child abuse. So,
not to make excuses for the religion, but I do think that they don't see it that way. they don't realize that they are causing any kind of harm.
I do.
I saw it in my mother, because my grandparents were devout Catholics, and my mother had a terrible fear of hell. I did not. Even though I was raised Catholic until I was 7, and then secular after that, the churches we went to really never talked about hell or going to hell or anything like that. And so I did not grow up with that fear. And that is one of the things that made stepping away from the religion easier for me than it is for most people, is I never had that fear to start with. But the other thing I wanted to mention was that I have some good news. I was looking this morning for what percentage of people actually believe in hell, and I found something that said that only 40% of Christians believe in a hell of flames, and even the Catholic Church is letting go of it. They are transitioning to hell as just separation from God. There's no lake of fire. There's no eternal flames.
I mean, it doesn't play well to the congregation. I mean, when you think about loved ones burning for all eternity in agonizing pain, it just is not something people want to deal with. On my channel, a few weeks, it's been about 2 months now. I had. I believe his first name's David Teachout. Are you familiar with him? Anyway, Teachout? David Teachout?
No, I'm not familiar with him.
Okay, so he is a psychologist, and he deals a lot with trauma and helping people with their identity and helping people meet them where they are and kind of help them validate their beliefs. But he had kind of a philosophy, which is, you can kind of tell what people really believe by their actions. Okay, so it sounds harsh when you say things out loud, like babies should be killed, or innocent women should be stoned at the gates of your city, or gay people should be stoned. I mean, people actually have a hard time saying that, and you can tell who really internalizes that, whether they're just professing it to be part of the community or to fit in, or that's their way of signaling to their tribe that, hey, I'm one of you and we're all on the same team. But if they really believed it, I would think they should be out there stoning people. If you go to Red Lobster and people are eating shellfish, I mean, when they walk out, you should whack them. I didn't say that. I mean, I'm just saying hypothetically.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't actually do that.
Well, I wasn't sure whether you meant that in the sense of the mafia sense, or if you meant that in a sense of like Holbein, those whacking atheists. I'm gonna. Over the head.
You're not supposed to eat shellfish. You're not supposed to have mixed fabrics. There's probably a few other things. And,
you're not supposed to rotate your crops.
You either believe it or you don't, Granny. It's that simple. And if you do believe it, you should. And that's the problem. I think people do something about it. It affects their behavior. It affects who they vote for. It affects their attitudes. It affects what they'll allow, what they won't allow. And so, I just. My whole kind of angle, because there's a lot of content creators out there, but my whole angle is child level scrutiny. I like to be a child advocate, and when adults kind of take the back door and initiate that indoctrination early, then there's just one thing that gets a free pass their whole life. I mean, they just kind of grow up. I mean, all the other things. Kids cover your ears. All the other things fall away. The tooth fairy falls away. Santa Claus falls away. Everything else falls away. But there's one thing that kind of gets a free pass to avoid scrutiny, and that's religion. So,
are you familiar with recovering from religion?
I am, but I haven't really gotten active with them. Like I see that being part of my future. Okay, so when I first started creating content, I wasn't aware of them. And then after I kind of, gained a little foothold in the space and got to know some of the other people, it definitely started coming up again and again. And so, from what I understand, that's just a really admirable program and a beacon of hope. And
oh my good goddamn.
It offers an incredible resource to all of us. So.
Okay, there's a few comments that I've been saving. And so some of them kind of relate to some things we were talking about earlier. Allegedly, Fred says, hell is a tool to induce obedience in a populace by increasing their fear in offering a solution. Yeah. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's so easy to control children in that way. It's incredibly harmful. I mean, just the devastating impact on a child's psyche when they live in fear all the time. I mean, they're activated, they're alert, they're hypersensitive, and that can and does turn into any kind of adverse health impact over the course of time. I mean, the most easiest and obvious ones are just anxious, avoidant. They learn coping mechanisms to help them deal with that kind of stress. That's mortal stress that you're putting on a kid. And like I said, I don't think it's fair to get in the back door.
I do.
I have a hashtag lifelong. What's the fallacy when you have a one-off or it applies to this thing?
Like fallacy?
I think it's a form of that.
Okay.
It'll probably come to me halfway through here, and I'll blurt it out. But lifelong free pass, I guess.
Special pleading.
That's it. Yeah, special pleading. Lifelong special pleading. And you should think I would know my hashtags, but you see, I'm on Godless Granny right now, and I have this awesome audience, and this is a beautiful moment for me. And now my brain's all fluttering around.
One thing you brought up the
I do.
With a score of 8 out of 9 and a performance rating nearly 250 ELO above his actual rating, and another at the Beal Master Open. As you can see, cheating in chess was getting very elaborate. However, the method that seemed to stick among top chess players, or at least the one that got caught the most, involved extensive use of the bathrooms. In 2015, this Georgian Grandmaster was caught using a phone in the bathroom to cheat. He was later stripped of his Grandmaster title. In 2019, Igor Rousas, who had seen a suspiciously good rise in ELO in his later years, was also caught cheating. This photo of him was snapped accessing an engine with his phone in the bathroom during a tournament. He too was stripped of his Grandmaster title. And as recently as October 2024, Grandmaster Kirill Shevchenko was also caught using a phone in the bathroom during his game in the Spanish Team Championship. He was suspended for 3 years and became the highest rated player to receive the punishment for cheating. Suspended for 3 years, bathroom during his game in the Spanish Team Championship. He was suspended for 3 years and became the highest rated player to receive the punishment for cheating. But the deception wasn't just evolving in how it was done, it was evolving where it was done.
Welcome to chess.com.
In 1992, the first online chess server opened up, which eventually turned into the Internet Chess Club. Things were easy. You could now play a game of chess in real time with anyone around the globe. This prompted a multitude of servers like Vix and Yahoo Chess to pop up. But from the jump, it was clear cheating would be a problem. Online chess was the easiest place to cheat, and all you needed to do was beat the server's anti-cheat software. That is, if the server had some. Most didn't have the infrastructure to detect and ban cheaters. Online play remained fairly underground though, with sites averaging a couple hundred to a couple thousand users at any given moment. As the years passed, these sites developed better and better anti-cheat systems. Apart from being annoying, cheating never truly mattered, until prizes were on the line. And while many prize tournaments were hit with this, the one that is still supposedly plagued with this the most is Title Tuesday. The tournament hosted by Chess.com began as a monthly affair in late 2014, and as the name suggests, players with a Master Chess title would play a 9-round event on Tuesdays for a prize fund of $1,000. The regularity and financial incentive was enough to drive players in, but it was also enough to fuel cheating. While it's unclear how many or who was cheating, an early example of this happened with Grandmaster Tal Barrett, who admitted in early 2017 to using an engine in Five Tuesday. It was also an early sign of what was to come in the chess community, as in his response, Tal tried to downplay and justify his actions.
Did I cheat using a chess engine? In short, yes. But only in the last game of the second tournament.
Done it.
This is perfectly logical.
So your whole argument is Psalm 22 sounds like Jesus, therefore it's a prophecy. And just because something sounds like something else doesn't make it a prophecy. That's the sharpshooter fallacy.
Okay, I love it. I love the sharpshooter fallacy.
I don't think you do love it.
Come on, you slut.
So let me finish, please. For your audience. So
my audience would cook you just as fast as I do.
That you would deliver them. That's what happens. That's the narrative.
Oh, did Jesus trust that he would be delivered from the cross?
You're crying out to your God. Why isn't he taking you off the cross?
Did Jesus trust that he would be delivered from the cross?
Huh?
Go ahead. I'm listening.
So that's what the Romans are saying, that he trusted on the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delighted in him. But thou art that he took me out of the womb.
But Jesus and his lack of deliverance is different than what Psalm 22 is saying.
No, he trusted in the Lord that would deliver him. Let him deliver him. That's what the Romans said.
I know, but David is looking for a real deliverance, and Jesus was not. Jesus wasn't looking to be delivered from the cross. He was looking to be delivered in real life.
Okay.
There's no parallel.
There's no parallel.
And even if there was a parallel, it's completely meaningless. Just because something that happened to David sounds similar to something that happened to Jesus does not make it a prophecy. This type of nonsense happened all the time in the ancient Near East. People were captured, they were mocked, they were made fun of, their clothes were stolen by their captors, so on and so forth. This is not unique.
Okay. But it's not interesting that a mortal man, according to you, on the cross, reported by an apostle who was there, points to Psalm 22, which has eerily similar links.
It's meaningless to me because Jesus knew the Psalms. If he was a Jewish teacher,
but why would we start off that line while he
if Jesus was a Jewish teacher, he would know the Psalms, and as he's struggling on the cross, obviously he would quote one of the most well-known passages of poetry from all of the Hebrew Bible, which would be the Psalms of David. Psalms of Lament were the most well-known parts of the Hebrew Bible other than the Torah for the first century Jews. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that as Jesus was on the cross, he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Also, fun fact, we don't have any evidence that he actually said those words. Again, you just have to trust that the New Testament is telling you true things, and I don't trust it. But even if he did say those words, I have no reason to believe that he meant that Psalm 22 is a prophecy. And even if he did believe that Psalm 22 is a prophecy, you can't demonstrate that it actually is a prophecy. You're starting at the destination and you're doing the sharpshooter fallacy. You're saying it is a prophecy because Jesus said it's a prophecy, but you have to start at the beginning. You have to demonstrate first that it's a prophecy.
100 years later, just a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. I can quote the text from the Bible too, and I'm 2005. I'm 2005. The cross has nothing to do with Psalm 22. There's nothing about crucifixion here.
They pierced my hands and my feet?
That's not there.
What?
What's the Hebrew word for pierce?
Where is it?
You won't find it because it's not in the passage.
Oh, you know Hebrew now?
Yes.
Oh, talk to me in Hebrew, please.
The Hebrew word is dakar. That means pierce.
Okay, and what's the Hebrew word there?
The Hebrew word there isn't a real Hebrew word. The Hebrew word that you have, you nailed it. The Hebrew word that is in the text is a mistake. It's a copyist error, which is why every translation of the text has something different.
Now,
that's why in the Jewish translation, it'll say like a lion, because that's what's in most of the Masoretic texts. It says like a lion, ka'ari. Some texts, like in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says ka'aru. The problem is that ka'aru is not actually a real word in Hebrew.
Okay, can you pull it up?
Pull what up? What do you want to see?
Pull up the Hebrew Psalm 22, the original Psalm 22, and let's look at it.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. Hold on.
What line is that? Where is it? Where my hands are? Where's the hands and feet? Okay, that's going to be line 17. Psalm 22, 17.
Suck my motherfucking dick.
Okay. Can you see the screen or no?
Here, let me go over to your screen. Okay. Where are you? Okay.
So in the Masoretic text, it says ka'ari, which means like a lion. It does not mean they pierced.
Okay.
It's not even third person. There is no original text. That's what I'm telling you. We have no original text.
Of Psalm 22?
Yeah, no. The oldest text we have is from the Nahal Hever scroll system, which is from the Judean desert. And it doesn't say ka'ari, it says ka'aru, and ka'aru isn't an actual word. It's a misspelling. It's a misspelling of a word, and nobody knows what the actual word is supposed to be.
Isn't it that the Jews claim that every copy of the Old Testament has to be written exactly from a previous one?
No, that's not real.
That's what I was told.
That's mythology. You've been lied to.
Okay, so
where'd he go? We lost him. He yapped so much he got raptured. We'll see if he comes back. We'll give him a minute. I don't see him on the screen. Hold on, where'd he go? Did he drop out? No. All right, we'll give him a minute. He'll come back. He'll come back. We'll give him a second. We'll give him a second and see if he comes back. I don't see him coming back. I don't know what happened to him. I think his equipment died, but here's the scroll from the Nahal Hever collection, and what you'll discover is that there is a misspelled Hebrew word. Ka'aru, yadi, is not spelled correctly. Ka'aru is misspelled. It is possibly the word kara misspelled, which means like they dug or they burrowed. Typically, is never referred to as pierced. This is misspelled as well. This H or hey at the end of it doesn't actually exist in the proper spelling of the word. So we got two words in a row that are misspelled. And so nobody knows what is in the original text, which is why all of the text that we do have of this particular hold on, my browser not showing what I want to show. Of this particular script, let me get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. There we go. All the text we have of this have something different in it. Some of them say ka'ari, some of them say ka'aru, some of them say ka'aru with an ayin rather than an aleph. Every manuscript we have of Psalm 22 has something different because everyone's trying to guess
what was in the original text, since the oldest text we have is corrupt. It's not actually in there. Okay. Listen, I don't think he's actually coming back. And it's 10:10, and he's a belligerent prick anyways. So I'm going to read a couple super chats, and then I think it's probably time to hit the road.
Good evening. Welcome to the Assassination of Trotsky with H. Keith Melton. I'm Amanda Olkey, Director of Adult Education here at the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight we are incredibly pleased to help Keith launch this really riveting new book on Trotsky's murder. Our executive director, Chris Costa, is going to tell you more about Keith and his deep, deep connection to the Spy Museum. I'm going to wander away and turn this over to someone you really want to hear from, and that is Chris Costa.
No, we want to hear from you.
No.
All right. Amanda, as always, great introductions from Amanda. Welcome everybody to the International Spy Museum. We're really, really excited to launch this book in particular. It is my privilege not only to talk about the book, but to introduce Keith Melton this evening and do so formally. It is my privilege to introduce not only one of the world's foremost collectors of intelligence history, but also a dear friend of the museum. So again, welcome, Keith. We're very excited to have you here. And I should point out that when visitors walk through our galleries, our guests often marvel at the many remarkable artifacts and objects that bring the hidden world of spying to life. Many of the museum's most iconic objects are here because of Keith's extraordinary generosity and his lifelong commitment to preserving intelligence history. Over the years, he has donated thousands of these artifacts that have become central to telling the story of spying and espionage from the earliest days of secret intelligence to the modern era. Among those artifacts is perhaps one of the most recognizable objects in the history of political assassination, and that is the ice axe used in the murder of Leon Trotsky in August of 1940. I should point out, full disclosure, it is my favorite artifact in the museum. It gets me in trouble when I tell that to 8-year-olds. I was told to stop saying that, but I truly do love the history, and I love seeing that artifact displayed for the public as well as us to enjoy. That artifact is much more than a museum piece. In fact, it is a result of one of the most sophisticated intelligence operations ever conducted. Stalin's security services spent years hunting and tracking Trotsky across continents. It was an operation that demonstrated both the extraordinary capabilities and the ruthless reach of Soviet intelligence at the time. In their new book, The Assassination of Leon Trotsky, Espionage Scandal and the Crime of the Century, Keith and his respected co-author, Nigel West, goes far beyond recounting a famous murder. They reconstruct the international intelligence campaign that made it possible, drawing on years of research, rare archival materials, and his unparalleled knowledge of espionage history. This book truly brings to life the defining covert operation of the 20th century. The Trotsky operation, and I italicize this, remains one of the clearest examples of intelligence employed as an instrument of state power, an instrument of assassination. No one is better suited to tell that story than Keith Melton. His scholarship, his passion for preserving the intelligence history, and his dedication to making these stories accessible have enriched this museum and inspired countless historians, intelligence professionals, and visitors from around the world. Keith on behalf of everyone at the International Spy Museum and those folks that are tuning in virtually, thank you for everything you've done to preserve this remarkable history and for helping build this museum into the world-class institution it is today. Your generosity has ensured the future generations will continue to engage with this extraordinary story behind the remarkable artifacts such as this story is. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my friend, one of the great stewards of intelligence history, Keith Melton.
Well, good evening. I am so delighted to be here with you today. My co-author, Nigel West, couldn't join us. He's in the UK and he just couldn't time his trips, but happily he left the video for us, and so we can kind of give a nice introduction to the book.
Hello, I'm Keith Melton, and I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us tonight. This is a special event. This is the kickoff, the publication of our new book on the assassination of Leon Trotsky. It's been something that has been in decades of work and only made possible by the fact that we were able to peek into some files around the world that had previously not been seen. It's a very special story. My co-author will probably give you some ideas about why it's so relevant today, but we believe the book is the most cohesive telling of the story from lots of different angles. It's 40 chapters, and at the end there's I believe, a fascinating afterword where we go into the origin of the acts, and a lot of imposters around the world who claim they have the original acts as I've tracked them down. But this is Nigel West, and please take it away.
Hi, welcome to the Spy Museum, and welcome to this extraordinary book about assassination. If you want to understand the world today, if you want to understand about terrorism and espionage and assassination, take a look at what the Soviets were doing in 1937 and 1938, and the origins of many of the operations post-war that we have studied and spent so much time looking at and have been so enthralled by. The origins are right here in the organization of an espionage network to penetrate the Trotsky organization, and that resulted ultimately in his assassination. So this is an extraordinary book, but it is highly relevant to what is going on in the world today.
One last thing, always remember the real axe is in the Spy Museum here. So if you haven't seen it, please plan on doing so. There are only 2 axes. We've only found one duplicate of this 1928 original axe, and we have it with us. And later on after the presentation, you're welcome.
Now buck up and move the phone on here.
said, you need to hit the goddamn gym, fatty. Like I said, you need to hit the goddamn gym, fatty. Like I said, you need to hit the goddamn gym, fatty.
Your husband is coming.
I just shit. Please forgive me. Fucking dumbass. slut. He is really starting to fucking piss me off.
Where every gang and every color wants to kill one another. Where every gang, every color is killing one another. Where every gang, every color killing one another. The elites in the 5-story hotels kicking the weak like me into the streets. The elites up in the 5-star. The elites up in the 5-star hotels kicking the...
Don't mess with imperfection.
Don't mess with imperfection. Maybe righteousness is not love one another, but everybody has a place in society. Everybody gets treated by that place, and that's righteousness. God is worship. The Canadian national anthem in America. That's it.